So I just uploaded that video on how I got to China teaching English, and then realised I hadn't explained how I got my job, which was obviously very important. So I finished my 4-week teaching course in around October of 2003, and at the end of the course they gave us a load of recommendations on websites to look at, and I don't know if it was from them or if I just did it myself, but I came up with Dave's ESL Cafe, Dave's ESL English Second Language Cafe on the internet, which is basically a website which is still going, run by Dave, who's from San Francisco. Ironically, he used to live in Chiang Mai, and I think that's where he started Dave's ESL Cafe from. He built the database there to do it from. But basically it was a website you could go on, and you could search for jobs teaching English as a foreign language, and I went on there, and I obviously focused on China jobs. I knew I wanted to go to China, but I didn't know where. At the start of the search I didn't know where I wanted to go, so it took a little bit of time to narrow down where I wanted to go. So I began knowing that I probably couldn't teach in Beijing or Hong Kong, where you had to have a degree, which I didn't have at that time. And what I did was I basically applied for about 10 different jobs in China. And I got one which was on the coast of China, which sounded very nice. The girl came straight back to me offering me the job, and I asked her questions and she answered my questions, and then I did a bit more research and found out it was a very polluted city on the coast of China, south of Hong Kong. So I thought, oh, that doesn't sound great actually. So what I did was, I thought, well, out of all the places you went to in China, where did you enjoy being the most? And out of all of them, Chengdu. Chengdu's a fantastic, huge city in the west of China. It's the southwest capital of China. Really good infrastructure, wide boulevards, tree-lined streets. So I thought, I'll go there. I found a job offered in Chengdu to teach. It was an agency actually that I went to on the internet, and via Dave's ESL Cafe, and they came back to me, and I said, how big do you want your kids? And I said small. I thought about it. I didn't initially say small, but I thought, well, if I'm teaching high school, it'd be more grammar. If I teach kindergarten, what I can do there is I can learn the basic Chinese words that I'm teaching them in English in Chinese, and that's exactly how it worked out. So I plumbed for that job. Visas and everything weren't difficult at that time. What I had done initially is applied to an agency to sort all that out. I filled out all my documents, photocopied them, sent them off to the agency, which was in my hometown of Birmingham at that time, and they had this visa agency, and they returned my documents like 2 weeks later, and they said, oh, this agency's closed. And that's when I thought, well, I'll do it all myself. So I sorted out, I think it was only a tourist visa. You can't do that anymore, but way back then you could just get on a tourist visa and get yourself to China with your job offer in hand. And once I got to Chengdu, they sorted all that out for me. But arrival in Chengdu, I flew from Guangzhou, as I said in my last video, and arrived in Chengdu. And what people normally do is they get chaperoned. They arrive in the airport, and someone picks them up and they take them to a place to stay. I couldn't be bothered. I'd been to China, I've travelled already, I knew how to do it. So I arrived early in Chinese New Year, which is like the busiest time of year in the whole of China, when everyone goes home to see their families. And I arrived in that time of year, and I booked a hotel which just happened to be right across the road from where my agency was based. And I turned up on the first day and I said, hey, not on the first day, but no, I stayed there a few days, and then I turned up at my agency and said, hey, I'm here. And they said, you're the first person that's ever not met us at the airport and just arrived. But the hotel where I stayed, just across the road, right in downtown Chengdu, near the square where the Chairman Mao monument is, was fantastic. Because it was Chinese New Year, everyone was celebrating with their families, and I was alone as a foreigner. And actually, a family that was staying at the hotel invited me to dinner with them, and they were military officers in the army, and the daughter of one of those officers invited me to the party, and it was fantastic. I had a great time. Yeah, I'll think a bit more on. And then I'll continue as I will now. So yeah, I got invited to that military general's daughter's party, which was fantastic. And the place where I stayed was, I remember arriving there, I've got to be honest with you, I thought, what the hell am I doing? Like, I was staying in the basement of a hotel, so they had a dormitory in the basement, and I filled a bath as soon as I arrived and tried to take a bath, and the water would only come out lukewarm. It was the middle of winter, and in Chengdu in winter it gets really cold, and it was a very basic room, only skylights looking up to the street, and I thought, what the hell are you doing here? And I panicked, very briefly. I panicked, and after that, like I said, I went across the road and up to the agency, because they were like on the 15th floor of this really tall skyscraper in Chengdu, and I met Terry and Sujren, who took me straight out to lunch. They took me for lunch. I met them, and they said, oh, okay, the first thing we do is we take you to lunch. And they took me to lunch at a really nice restaurant just down the road, and they said the next day we'll meet you, and we're going to take you to your school, which they did. Took me to the school, showed me my apartment, which was way more basic than I'd expected it to be. They told me I'd have a carpet, TV, fridge, all that stuff was missing, so that had to be sorted out, and I did get that sorted out. That was how I started off in Chengdu. It was winter, so there was this low mist hanging over the city all the time. But it was beautiful as well. It was really beautiful. And I was getting street food. There was these Muslim guys selling these flatbreads with sugar on top on the street. So I snack on those in the morning when I was staying in the hotel. I went to McDonald's, I must admit, had a couple of burgers to settle me in. But then the adventure really begins, and that'll be my next video. So until that next video, this is now. Oh, and the last thing I'll say is, I mentioned before I applied to 10 jobs in China, all off Dave's ESL Cafe. That website's still running, and Dave, I think, is actually based in San Diego, not San Francisco, but he really vets the people and the jobs that he puts on his site, and so it's still a solid one, and you can still get good jobs off there. Yeah, so that's it. That's where I got those job offers from. In case you're wondering, where do you apply to all those 10 jobs? All off Dave's ESL Cafe, which is still something I look at, and still something that I consider to be a very good resource. So, okay, and I also have to add, because I forgot about this, the reason that I went for kindergarten over teaching anything else was I had also, over the past year, decided I wanted to go back and finish my education with an international distance learning degree. I found the University of London let me study while I was abroad and take my exams abroad. So by teaching kindergarten, I realised I'd have a lot more time, which I did have, to study for my degree. So that's the reason why I went for the lower level. Also, it was also great just for the fact, like I said before, you could learn the words of the kids. But I started a degree in philosophy because I wanted to understand the world and all the big thoughts that had gone before. So I began to study a degree in Western philosophy, not Eastern, although I did study a lot of Eastern philosophy while I was in China. Some very good books there, actually. What was it called? The Importance of Living by Lin Yutang. Fantastic book I read while I was there. Yeah, so that was the other reason, and the final reason why that all worked out, and why I picked that location and to teach kindergarten at that time. And yeah, great choice. Looking back, great choice.